to our show. Welcome to our show. It's a good show. Big, big shoe. It's really huge. Welcome to our
Hey, I'm Bill Victor Arucan, and this is...
Hey everybody, James Balsamo, CEO of Acid Bath Productions. You're listening to Talkin Troma.
Welcome to our show. Welcome to our show. It's a good show. Big, big shoe. It's really huge. Welcome to the show.
Tromaville, and welcome to episode 12 of Talkin Troma with your host, me, Zack Bynes. The show where me and a guest save the world from rubber monsters by watching a Troma movie and then pair it with a non-Troma title for a fantasy double feature. But first, let me introduce my guest. He is a veteran of Tromaville, has soaked the screen with plenty of blood, boobs, and beasts, directed over 31 feature films. Alongside of him is his partner, actor, and producer extraordinaire. Let me introduce to you James Balsamo and Bill Arucan. Thanks for coming on the show, fellas.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, let's party.
Heck yeah, it's a Troma party for sure.
That's right.
Well,
Talk Troma.
Exactly. Well, one of the things I like to do right off the bat is I want to know how you guys even first heard of Troma, or what were your first experiences with Troma?
So I am actually not a Troma person, but I've learned a lot of stories through James, who actually worked in Troma. So James pretty much gave me all the lowdown and great stories. So you got to hear it all from James first.
Well, what was your first, before you started even working at Troma, what was like your first view into that world?
So I grew up on the Toxic Crusaders. I had all the action figures, the comic books, the Toxie comic books. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Toxie was ingrained into me as a small lad. And then I was working at a comic book store, and somebody had brought in a copy of the Toxic Avenger Part 2 to sell, and somebody goes, hey, you know, they're right in New York. I was living in Long Island at the time, and that Friday I quit, and then I started taking out Lloyd Kaufman's trash on Monday.
That's awesome. So when you were working at Troma, what was your position there?
Slave, I think. They have, you know, it was cool though, because I learned every trick in the book from Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hers. You know what I mean? I came in right when they were editing Poultrygeist, so unfortunately I didn't get to work on the film, but I did a lot of promotion while they were editing it, and I got to play the Toxic Avenger for a Barnes & Noble book signing Lloyd Kaufman did, and that's actually how he had done a cameo in my first film, The Mark, which I believe you have a story about.
Yeah, so on the hiatus of the show, I was moving, and I'm working on getting together my huge Troma collection. And in there, I had a stack of burned DVDs. And just a couple days before we were recording this, I was unpacking this, box of DVDs, and I found a copy of a burned DVD copy. It's a James Balsamo's The Mark that I must have stolen from a Troma Dance Film Festival, like after they screened it, which is just so random that we haven't met before, but I have probably the only copy in existence of your first movie.
You have the only copy in existence, the only burned DVD of The Mark as a singular film. I ended up taking The Mark and turning it into part of my first anthology film, Hack Job, that came out in 2011. But I started making The Mark at 19, you know what I mean? So I sat on that 40-minute film and turned it into a feature when I was 25. So it's insane that we met and then you went home and found the only copy of my first film. That's insane.
Yeah, because like we only, like all three of us, we just met like not even a month ago at the Colorado Festival of Horror out here in Denver, and I saw that you were on the bill. And whenever I've been doing research for these episodes and seeing what other movies people are in, your movies always show up. And I've, recognized the posters from before. And even like back in the day, you've messaged me on Facebook telling me about Hack Jobs. And of course, I was intrigued because Odorous from Gwar is in it. So, being a Gwar fan, I had to check that out. So I was excited that you came to that. And I knew you liked Troma movies, but I had no idea you actually worked at Troma until we met. And I was like, well, you got to come on the show.
So crazy. What a small world. But yeah, I saw that. So when I had made my first film, in 2010, 2011, I had started just messaging people on Facebook that had Troma as an interest. And I'm like, hey, if you like Troma, you're gonna like this new movie. It's got Gwar in it and Lloyd Kaufman and Debbie Rochon and Lynn Lowry, and it's funny. You never responded, you bastard.
No. I don't think I don't know if we were friends on Facebook, so I don't think I responded.
We weren't. I was just messaging random people that had liked Troma as a page and being like, check out. It was like free advertising before, like, spamming people through Facebook Messenger was a thing.
I definitely did that on MySpace with the Misled Romance of Cannibal Girl and Incest Boy. So back when you used to be able to do that, and not get banned from the website. But so before you started working at Troma, were you interested in making movies, or did that happen because you were working at Troma?
I was. So I've been acting since I was 8, and I'm in a whole bunch of movies and TV shows as an extra, and small bit parts. Like I'm on an episode of CSI where Jerry, what's his name? Jerry Flahoyven. How am I forgetting his name?
Orbach. No, that's Law and Order.
Jerry Lewis. That was a test. That was to see if my Jerry Lewis impersonation would fly. It doesn't. Now we know. So I'm on an episode where Jerry Lewis kills a guy on a train platform, and I'm like one of the people that sees him murder somebody. So, I was doing that kind of stuff, but I had always wanted to be in horror movies. So working at Troma kind of gave me the push to, after I got enough Shaker DVDs, those are the free DVDs Troma.
Oh, yeah.
They're like broken in the case. They shake around, so they call them Shakers. After I had seen hundreds of those, in the year that I had worked at Troma, I said I could make a movie, and that was it. I had started filming a movie, and I knew nothing about cinematography or anything. I just was kind of like, I'm making a movie. You know what I mean? And I got Lloyd Kaufman to be in it, and Debbie Rochon thought I was cute, and so she did a role in the movie. And then I went out to California, and I got Lynn Lowry to do a cameo. And I got Gwar in it, and that was it. And that's how I made my first movie. But, I had wanted to act in horror movies, and that's how it all came to be.
And looking through your IMDb, and then also through my DVD collection, I noticed that you're credited as playing Toxie in the intro for a few different Troma DVDs, like Space Patrol, or Rock and Roll Space Patrol, and Macabre Pair of Shorts, and a couple others.
Yeah, so I play the Toxic Avenger in the DVD intros of like 6 films. Whenever you see furry Italian forearm Toxie, that's how you know it's me. What's really funny is that I played Toxie in Coons, Night of the Bandits, which is like a killer raccoon movie, and Amazon has me as one of the leading stars, but they only have the actual movie, not the Troma intro. So like the Amazon movie doesn't even have me in it, and it's got me like top listed.
I think it's kind of crazy. I think Coons played at Troma Dance the same year that the Mark did. And I think the movie that I made, My Bloody Valentine, played that same Troma dance. Also, it's jumping ahead a little bit, but also at that same Troma dance, Blood, Boobs, and Beast played the Nightbeast Don Dohler documentary, which is kind of a small world there.
So small. And then how apropos for this episode with Bill and I, right?
Yeah.
It's all very titular.
Exactly. Well, what other kind of stuff did you do in the Troma offices? I know you said you took out Lloyd's trash, but
and Michael Herz's garbage. I also did subtitles for Make Your Own Damn Movie. Not just me. There was like 12 people typing, words every few days and stuff like that. So I had worked on that. And
what do they say? You put a million monkeys in a room and they'll type out Shakespeare, but you put 12 Troma interns in an office and they'll subtitle the Make Your Own Damn Movie box set.
It's true. So I used to sweep outside of the offices when they were in New York City and stuff.
And this was in the Hell's Kitchen offices, right?
It was. I remember it was funny because Michael Herz, he's like such a brilliant producer, but he's a very into himself and in his own mind kind of guy. I was taking out his garbage for like 2 weeks and I was waiting there early because I was so excited. This, you know what I mean? I was 19. I was like, this is a real film company. They're the longest running film company. And I guess he thought I was like a homeless kid or something like that. He was like, can I help you? I'm like, I've been taking out your garbage for 2 weeks. He's like, oh yeah. How you doing? Come on in.
That's awesome. When I was looking through, it doesn't look like you've really directed anything that Troma's put out, except for an episode of Mulligan's Monsters. You directed a short.
It's true that I had never had a movie released through Troma until Rob Mulligan asked me to direct a short film for his episodic TV show called Mulligan's Monsters. And I just made like a batshit crazy short film where my dog's wearing like a pink wig. You know what I mean? I had my girlfriend and my stepdaughter all wearing these like weird wigs, and she's like a leper all of a sudden and she loses like a hand. It's like really weird.
It is weird.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah, Leopard Sea.
yeah, it's called Leopard Sea.
So I want to talk about your movies. I went on the crash course over the last week of watching a bunch of your stuff, but you have so many movies out there. So the few that I watched, I watched Bite School, It Wants Blood, The Lich, Cool as Hell, and then The Mark again for the show. And they're a lot of fun, and you can tell that you came up with the Troma school of making a movie under whatever means necessary, which I really appreciated. Can you tell me a little bit about your approach to making movies? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but you're shooting at least 3 movies at the moment, if not more.
7.
So you're making
I told
7
you
movies.
7.
7, yeah. 7 movies at the same time. Like this week, I'm only filming for 2, and then Bill and I are filming Bite School 2 in Las Vegas at the end of the month. And then our newest movie, Alien Danger, is premiering at the Chinese Theater November 29th at the big room at the Chinese Theater.
That's awesome.
It's opening in between Dune and James Bond.
How exciting is that? Is that awesome?
I know what one I would pay to go see.
Yeah, exactly. Dune, James Bond, Alien Danger. You know what I mean? With Raven Van Slender. What's it going to be?
I bet only one of those movies is not 3 hours long.
That's true.
and and that's my sweet spot. So when you're making a movie, are all the movies that you make, the ones I've watched, I've noticed that you cast yourself in the lead typically. Is that because of your crazy shooting schedules and you'll know you'll be there?
Well, I had started out making films so I could star in movies. You know what I mean? Like I said, I had been acting since I was 8, and all I had ever wanted to do was be in horror movies. So I learned how to make films so I could star in them. But now I've done it so many times. I started working with Bill and people like Seth Ramon to star in these other movies because I've done it over 30 times. You know what I mean? Like I could only star in so many movies. Like I don't mind being the comic relief or, you know what I mean? Like a Hitchcock kind of walk-on cameo.
Yeah.
Like I said, originally it had started because I had wanted to act, and you know what I mean? Now that that I've made so many films and I've done every job there is, you know what I mean? From fluffer to gaffer to, you know, you name it, I've done it. So it's cool to work with Bill and have him be able to star in these things so I can take a step back and, you know, direct and really take over the 3-ring circus from another standpoint.
And it is a 3-ring circus if you think about it.
I believe it.
Monkeys and all, you know what I mean?
Well, when I met you, you didn't really have any downtime at the convention. Usually you'll see people hanging out and drinking when they're not, you know, at their table, but you guys were out there shooting for, I think, You're Melting and maybe something else, which I thought was pretty clever and awesome. How do you guys, like, you know, juggle, you too, Bill? Like, do you help James keep track of what movie he is shooting? Or like, hey, we need to get this, or since we're here, let's shoot a scene for this movie. I've kind of noticed with a lot of your stuff, it seems like, well, we have this opportunity today, so let's go shoot that. How do you keep that straight in your shooting schedules?
Drinking a lot of Coke. You got to be on your toes working with James, because at any moment the perfect scene comes up and James goes, let's go shoot this.
Nice.
And as you're walking, you're like, oh shoot, what are we gonna shoot? What's the scene gonna be? What's the dialogue gonna be? But somehow when you get to that action, people know what they're gonna do, and it just comes out right. James just has a magic about him that just says, oh, it'll come out, and he can pull things from every person that he wants. So the shoot looks really good.
That's awesome. And do you know,
hold on, I just want to say thank you, Bill. That's a lovely compliment. That's the first time Bill said that this is magical, so thank you.
I mean, no, like you laugh and joke, but shooting seven feature films at the same time, like, that is pretty magical. I shot one feature film and I thought it was going to kill me. So,
which I must say, Zach, I loved. And we are totally cut from the same cloth, and we both graduated from that Troma school. Because when I was watching your film, I was like, "This is a brother of mine in film school. Like, we are totally, you know what I mean? It's amazing."
I get it. Yeah, no. When I was watching It Wants Blood, I was like, "Oh, I get it. Yeah, no, like we know what's up."
Yeah. And you know, James lets you play your character, so he lets you develop the character to where until he likes it. So he'll give you tips, little tricks, just to pull out what he wants. So it's kind of cool. So you're really just focusing less about the lines and more about how the character develops in an improv style.
How big are your scripts typically for one of your movies, or is it a lot of improv?
I'm sorry, how do you pronounce this word? Scrapes?
Scripes?
Scripes? I don't. So what's really interesting is that I make films similar, you know what I mean, to a Troma-esque way, but in a different way, because I had handled so many aspects. Like I was shooting them, I was, you know what I mean, had the whole concept. And so when I went off to do these movies, I kind of didn't really have a script. on a physical piece of paper, I'd write a treatment for somebody, or if like a celebrity cameo wanted specific lines, I would write out dialogue for the day. But everybody else, I'd kind of feed them a general gist of what to say because I was handling everything myself. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? So it was like, I'll figure out how to make it work. You just kind of say this. And that kind of became a way I made films, because when I did write scripts in the beginning, I was working with actors that either couldn't care less about a script and they were just like, we're making a movie, this is fun. You know what I mean? So I would just kind of have to tell them what to say anyway after I spent hours, formatting a script. So I kind of cut out that middleman of the paperwork and was like, I have to feed them the lines anyway. Why am I going to take the time to write it out when I have to give them the dialogue anyway? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I love Debbie Rochon, and we've done a lot of films together, but when we work together, she's a day player. You know what I mean? She shows up for a day. So she is an amazing improv actor. So she just tells me, okay, what am I saying? So like when she did Cool as Hell, I wrote this really funny dialogue for her and like these funny backstories, but she just was like, okay, just kind of tell me what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So after that kind of moment, I was like, why am I spending all this time to write witty dialogue if I just have to tell them what to say anyway? And that's kind of how that kind of came to be.
Well, I
And
thought
that's how it worked with It Wants Blood. I think James only wrote like one page for one scene for Amy Dumas and me, and that's the only one we memorized. All the other scenes were truly improv.
I could dig that. With some of my movies, it's just like I have an outline, but that's basically so I don't forget to shoot something on set, as opposed to on Adam, some of the actors definitely did not care about anything we wrote down. And it's like, oh cool, you guys showed up drunk. Well, I guess we will just work with that. With It Wants Blood, how much did you write for Eric Roberts? Because he fucking like put on a clinic in some of those scenes. Like you would expect for it being a low budget film and him having done as many things as he has done, like, oh, he's gonna phone it in. But he fucking put you guys to task, like in the chair. I thought that was pretty rad.
So funny story about Eric Roberts. First of all, It Wants Blood was supposed to be a serious horror film when I set out to make it. You know what I mean? It was going to be kind of like an old 50s monster movie where the monster was kind of scary, but everybody plays it straight. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't look, you know what I mean? It's like a silly vagina mouth elephant with teeth and a snake for a trunk, but everybody acts like it's terrifying. And so the second day I was filming with Eric Roberts, he just decided, these witch doctors look kind of silly. If I play this straight through the whole movie, people are going to think it's hokey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how can you argue with a guy that's done 7,000 movies? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I have a vision, I can't say that I'm easily swayed, but I am receptive to people that have walked a path longer than me. You know what I mean? Like when I worked with Tony Todd in Catch of the Day, I had a bit where he takes a sandwich out of my hand and he's like, give me that sandwich. And Tony said, it would be funnier if it was a banana. And how could I argue? You know what I mean? I didn't have my heart set on
It would be
sandwich.
funnier if it was a banana.
Yeah, that's exactly how he said it, just like that. You can't argue with the candy man. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Eric Roberts said that, you know what I mean? And then he started playing it hokey, like he's kissing his son's severed head and stuff like that. I just thought, yeah, okay, this is, you know what I mean? It's fun, you know what I mean? It's not exactly what I wanted, but then that changed my tone as an actor. And, I think it definitely helped influence Bill's character. He's got this giant monster head, like licking him like it's his pet dog.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's campy, you know what I mean? And so I thought it worked, but it definitely wasn't the film I set out to make.
I wasn't thinking I was going to play an Asian Colonel Sanders.
The costume would come across that way. And was that movie inspired at all by Q the Winged Serpent? I mean, I get
Zach, you're a great guy. I love that you understand these things. You know what I mean? It's a rare breed that makes a certain kind of movies and understands these cults. I love Larry Cohen films, and that is exactly what I wanted to do was Q. And I'm glad you said that.
So one thing I was curious about your films in particular, you have a crazy amount of nudity in your movies. Like all the movies I've seen from you, you have a crazy amount of nudity. How do you get the actors and actresses to do that? Like in our movies, they were all friends, but are they different? Did you have to pay them, or how much did you go about getting the actors to be nude in your films?
Well, like you said, I've been, filming nudity since my first feature hack job. Funny story, when I interned for Troma, Debbie Rashan did her scene for the mark in a robe that I had made at a college sewing class and was wearing nothing else but this robe and was very eager to take it off. And I was like, oh, no, this is like a real movie. You know what I mean? You don't have to get naked. And I remember the guy that worked at Troma that was shooting the scene for me, like looking at me like, what is wrong with you? Debbie Rashan wants to get naked and you're dumb. And I was like, no, this is a movie. You don't have to do that. And then after that, Lloyd Kaufman kind of like beat me over the head with a newspaper and was like, James, if you ever want to sell this movie, you need nudity in your films. You know what I mean? He's like, I'll give you a number of a guy that'll get you a bunch of girls that'll get naked for free just because they want to be in a movie. And I thought, oh, and that kind of warped my fragile little, mind where I was like, oh, and then that was like, smoking a joint for the first time. I was like, and then I'm basically like freebasing meth, getting all these girls to get naked because I'm like, oh, Lloyd Kaufman said that's the only way to sell a movie. And he was right.
He is absolutely right.
He is absolutely right. So now I make classy art pictures with lots of nudity.
It's like the Brown Bunny meets Larry Cohen.
Yeah. I appreciate that. So, I like a lot of 70s, 80s films, and they have full frontal nudity. So that's kind of why I put that in a lot of my films, because from doing the convention circuit, there's a certain type of guys that buy these types of movies anyway. They don't want pornography, but they want to see like gore and monsters and naked people. So that's kind of, that's what I like. You know what I mean? So
same here.
I just kind of made the films that I like. But when I met up with Bill, we made our first kids movie. So after
what's the title of that one?
That's Alien Danger with
awesome.
It's a kids movie. There's no nudity.
No nudity.
But there's still lots of monsters and celebrity cameos like Tommy Chong and Rob Halford from Judas Priest.
And good-looking women.
Yeah. You brought up Rob Halford, and that's something else I wanted to touch on in your movies is you also have, like, starting back in your first one, when you have Odorous show up, you have a lot of band cameos, but you also, like, have, like, every movie I've seen so far, you have, like, a killer soundtrack. Like you either have good title songs or just some like metal bands that have given you like good soundtracks. And as a metalhead, I appreciate the soundtracks that you have on there. So how do you go about licensing those songs, or have you a lot of the times found by casting them in your movies that they'll give you the rights to your music?
The latter, you know what I mean? But it all depends, you know what I mean? I've done everything from making so many movies. I've done everything from, reaching out to the label and then reaching out to the artist and paying for the rights or the artist just giving me the rights. So it really depends on the artist. You know what I mean? And the Toy Dolls just did the theme song for Alien Danger. You know what I mean? So that was really cool. So and we're trying to bring them out to play the Chinese theater. So we got the go from the Chinese theater, but we're just waiting on the visas and stuff because they're coming from, you know, the UK and whatnot.
Another weird crossover. So I noticed in Bite School you had the ska band, the AOKs, give you a song, and I directed their first music video.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool. That is a cool crossover.
So more ways than one. But yeah, no, like I appreciate the soundtracks in your movie. A lot of times, you know, with our budget of movies, you will find that it's you don't get a lot of bigger name bands in there, and that's something that definitely surprised me with your films.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, you know, what's kind of cool is that, you know, artists want to be featured, right? Like, I think about it as the Misfits theory, right? Misfits write songs about horror movies. So you would think bands that are inspired by the Misfits would want to be in horror movies so they can in turn, you know, inspire other people, and the cycle kind of continues.
Yeah.
Like there's a band from Chile or something like that wrote a song about the Lich and like stole clips of the movie for their music video of the Lich.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was really like, I wasn't even mad about it. I was like, this is amazing.
And I put it on the DVD.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah, they're like, El Lich. I'm like, what? How is the internet's amazing?
Like, how did you even see this? Cool. And then you guys, you were saying you have Alien Danger 2 premiering in like a month at the Chinese, or the first Alien Danger.
Yeah, Alien Danger. But yeah, we've also shot the sequel already, so we're ready to jump right into that one. And
nice.
That has Doug Bradley in it.
In the first one or the sequel? Or both?
Yeah.
The sequel.
He's in the sequel along with Sergeant Slaughter.
That's awesome.
I just love the fact we got wrestlers in there too. That is so cool.
Yeah, didn't you have Jake the Snake in one of your movies? And yeah, like it's crazy, like even just watching the opening credits of your movies and you'll see and featuring, it's like, holy shit, it's like a laundry list of just like awesome people that just show up. And you don't know where they're gonna be either, so it's like Where's Waldo when watching. Well, if there's anything else you wanted to add about your time at Tromaville, otherwise I think we should probably start digging into Nightbeast.
Yeah, no, I
Nightbeast.
think that's I think we covered the Troma gamut. You know, it's cool. Lloyd Kaufman is wearing a Hack Job t-shirt at the new Return to Nukem High DVD extra features on their DVD. So I thought that was cool.
You know what? I feel like I've seen him wear the Hack Job shirt around, so that's pretty
He used
awesome.
to wear it all the time, and every time I'd see him, he'd be like, James, you got to get me a new Hack Job t-shirt. I've worn this thing out. You know what I mean? Like he loved that t-shirt.
When I tried to give him an Adam shirt, he was like, I have plenty of shirts. You should sell that one. So that's awesome. But all right, well, yeah, let's get into the 1982 classic from Don Dohler, Nightbeast.
From another galaxy, from another world, comes the embodiment of fear.
What the hell was that?
Nightbeast, terror from beyond. distant planet. A killing machine with a taste for human flesh. A community abandoned in a code of silence.
Wicker never even called the state. They don't even know we have a bad situation here.
A love affair.
You know you're a very attractive girl, Lisa.
Two people brought together by the urgency of the moment. Two people torn apart by the savage fury of Nightbeast.
I'm sorry, Jamie. There was nothing that could be done.
The most vicious creature to ever span the intergalactic void has come to pay its respects. This is the story of how the little people answer the big questions. See the movie that will change the face of modern science fiction cinema. Nightbeast, Terror from Beyond.
This is what Lloyd Kaufman has to say about Nightbeast in his book, All I Need to Know About Filmmaking I Learned from the Toxic Avenger. Just like E.T., only if E.T. ate little Elliot and sucked. Really, really sucked. Not to be confused with the late night vegetarian movie Nightbeat, or the famous feminist horror film Night Bitch, or the famous biographical film about Hee Haw's Buck Owens, Night Buck, or the famous movie about Hicks who have spitting contests every midnight, Night Bile, or the Shut the Fuck Up. It says that in the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing my Nightbeast t-shirt right now. You can't see it, but hear how sweet it sounds.
Dude, that Nightbeast shirt is awesome. It's, it's neon colored and it's just as fun as the movie. When was the first time that either of you watched Nightbeast?
I actually got it from Troma when I was interning there, so I guess I was 19 the first time I saw Nightbeast.
Awesome.
And I'm a newbie to it, so I just watched it like last week.
Twice. No better time to get introduced to it. I first heard about it at the Troma dance where I stole your DVD. They were showing the documentary Blood, Boobs, and Beast, which is Troma put it out. It's a documentary about Don Dohler's life, but they talk about Nightbeast in there. And then before that, people on the Troma message boards were always saying it was one of their favorite Troma movies, but I just never had watched it until I saw that documentary, and then I was like, I need to track this thing down, and it definitely has the reputation it deserves. It's a fun sci-fi rubber monster backyard movie. It like ticks all of my low budget filmmaking boxes, and the fact that it's also shot in Baltimore, like at the same time like John Waters is filming stuff. One thing I always like to do too is to see like if there's any like weird crossovers into Tromaville from that movie, and it seemed like a whole bunch of the crew, the associate producer Tony Malinowski, he directed Curse of the Cannibal Confederates the same year, and a whole bunch of the cast and crew also worked on Curse of the Cannibal Confederates, which is, if you guys haven't seen that one, it's like 2000 Maniacs, but not very good. So,
I have seen it, so yeah, you're right.
And then one of the makeup effects people, Amodo Giordano, he did the makeup effects for Splatter University. And one of the guys who did graphic animation, Ernest Farino, he wrote Wizards of the Demon Sword, and he did graphics for the Puppetoon movie. So,
oh, cool. And how could you forget J.J. Abrams worked on Nightbeast?
That's insane. So J.J. Abrams is 15 years old in Baltimore, and I guess so at the time in Don Dohler's, like before he was making movies, he was writing like magazines on filmmaking, and J.J. Abrams,
which I have all of those cinematic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, oh, yeah. They tell you how to make cable puppets. I have all of them. They're incredible.
They look cool. I've never read them, but they show a little bit of them in the documentary Blood, Boobs, and Beasts. And I guess J.J. Abrams was writing for it, but then Don Dohler's like, yeah, I stopped making the magazine before he published any of his articles, which now it's like, you should probably, like, the estate of Don Dohler should try to find those articles and publish them, because that's probably the most money they're sitting on.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of Don Dohler's other work? Because I have not, but I've seen trailers for a bunch of his stuff.
He did the Alien Factor. That's a fun one.
And then I've seen the poster for The Fiend around quite a bit. I think Massacre Video put that out, so I'm like familiar with the box art of that one. But
and Bill and I love John Dodds' work also. He did the Spookies.
I love the Spookies.
He just holds up so well. I mean, all these films hold up so well.
If you haven't seen at least from Nightbeast, but like a Don Dohler movie, it's you're not going into it getting like a Star Wars, but you're probably getting the movie that played too deep after Star Wars. And it kind of seems like this was a response video to Star Wars, because they were like, we need more sci-fi to fill the time slots. I actually think that's where Alien Factor came from, was they were trying to fill up cable TV time slots, but it's just a fun rubber monster blasting people.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. And the gore is so good.
Yeah,
it's so good.
And gut rips. And George Stover, who happens to be in Bill and I's new movie, You're Melting.
George Stover was like the actor in Nightbeast. Like, most of the other actors in there just kind of did other Don Dohler stuff, but George Stover, like, he actually acted in quite a bit of all of Don's movies, and then a good chunk of John Waters' movies, and now your guys' film. But he always he's always working, which is
George is cool. He's in a ton of stuff.
So when they were shooting, I guess originally they were shooting a sequel for Alien Factor 2, and it didn't work out. So they already had the monster, so they just remade it into Nightbeast. so that's and they were, when they were looking to shop the movie around, they were shopping Fiend around, and they showed it to Troma. And much like the story you told earlier, Lloyd told Don Dohler that they need more blood and nudity, otherwise they'll never be able to sell this movie. Mm-hmm. So, and Fiend was right before Nightbeast, which definitely has that blood and gore and boobs in there. So, let's kind of dig into the plot on this thing. So the movie, it starts out with a miniature spaceship flying overhead, and it's like totally made of cardboard, and it crash lands on Earth, which is like shot in Don Dohler's backyard.
Just like Deadly Spawn.
Yeah. And I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think one of the effects guys did the effects for Deadly Spawn, or worked on Deadly Spawn.
John Dodds.
Yeah.
He did Deadly Spawn, Spookies, and Nightbeast.
That Synapse Blu-ray of Deadly Spawn needs to come out one of these days. I'm waiting.
That's another amazing film. I have many Deadly Spawn t-shirts. I do enjoy that movie.
That I didn't pick it, but now I'm thinking about it. That would have been a good double with this one.
That would have been cool.
I was lucky. I got to see Deadly Spawn on the big screen, like a 35 print of it. It was rad.
Get out of here. That's awesome.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the spaceship crash lands on Earth, and then they have a pretty big explosion to be shot in your own backyard of this spaceship blowing up. And then, and as you said, like, Don Dohler and our J.J. Abrams did the music for this, and you could tell right away, like, the music is pretty special in this movie. Like, it's a lot better than it probably should be. I actually have an audio clip I want to play real quick. with Don Dohler and J.J. Abrams talking about working together and making the music?
J.J. Abrams was a fan of my magazine. I think at this point I had sold Cinemagic to Starlaw, but I started another similar magazine called Amazing Cinema. And he was working on some articles for me. And I can't remember how it came up, but I guess when he found out I was going to do this Nightbeast, and he offered his services, and he was offered to do music. So we had one of our agents out there he was doing the domestic distribution on the film. We had already signed a pre-deal with him. He owned a stock music company in Hollywood. So he told us whatever they had, we could use for free. So he had sent some music, or I had gotten in touch with his people, and I picked some stuff out, but it wasn't enough. I needed some supplemental stuff. So I called JJ, and he jumped right in and did this supplemental music, which is used extensively throughout the movie. Most of the chase music, not all of it, but a lot of it is stuff he did. And he did the love scene music, which is kind of funny when I think about it, because JJ was like 15 at the time. And my son, who was, how old was Greg at the time?
67.
About 13, 14, doing the sound recording in that scene. So I had like these two underage kids who contributed heavily to that, that naked love scene. They'd probably lock me up if I did something like that nowadays, wouldn't they?
To be totally honest, I don't remember how exactly the thing came about, but I was, I always made music, and I was, I think 15, and I knew he was doing his next movie, and I might have just written him some ridiculous letter saying, I do music, and if you, I don't know, and then I think he wrote me back saying, sure. I can actually look and see if I have the letters, but basically it was this crazy thing where suddenly he was sending me these tapes of his movie he was making, and I was recording cues for them. So I would send, and I didn't have time code or anything, and at the time, we had a 3/4-inch video deck at home for some reason, and it was before, VHS was a sort of a standard, or existed at all maybe. Anyway, he would send me these tapes, and so I'd watch these tapes, and I'd sort of time out, like using a watch, sort of how long these sequences were and sort of where things would occur, and I'd go and I'd record a cue on a 4-track and then send it back to him, and he'd call me or write me a note saying, yeah, that's great, can you do one where it's a little, where there's more, to be honest with you, I don't remember, exactly how bad my music was, but I'm sure I made a few scenes so much worse than they should have been.
I mean, I described the scene on the phone. I didn't even have the stuff edited, and then he'd come up with this piece of music, and it was like just what I was looking for. It was great. I knew JJ was talented. I mean, he just had a flair for this stuff.
Yeah.
And the articles he was doing for me. Unfortunately, right after that's when I ended the magazine. His stuff never got in, but even that was just so well done for a kid that young.
I was in New York, and I was with my grandfather, and I was 16, and the movie was coming out that year. It was on video, and I remember I hadn't seen it, but I called. We were in New York. We were in Farmingdale, New York, and I called, and there was a video store that had a copy, and I said, "Can I buy it from you?" Because it was like a rental. They said, I guess VHS wasn't around because they were renting the theater. We're so old. Anyway, and I called and I said, could I buy the video? And they were like, yeah, all right, So I remember my grandmother drove me to the store, and I went and bought it. And I had this copy of this thing that was like, I was just so blown away that like the movie actually had come out, because it was like, what even though it was just on video, still was that thing of like, I was 16 years old and I got to be part of something that was actually, there was a box and there was a little image, and it was a real movie. And so. It wasn't as important, it was important in this way. It felt like I actually got to do something that was in a genre that I love, that was far more legitimate than the student films I'd done before. So to me, it was more like a confidence kind of thing, where it's like, hell, I just, I got to be a part of this thing that was, something that, I would have wanted to see anyway.
But after the ship explodes, or right before, we see Nightbeast emerge, and it's a pretty cool shot. He's like silhouetted in smoke, and you just see like the outline shining off of this rubber mask, and he kind of looks a little bit like Rawhead Rex. And little
silver suit too.
Yeah, and I guess that silver suit is like one of the lead actors' motorcycle suits, and they just let Don borrow it, and then like decades later, he's like, "Oh, maybe you want this back," and it was all crusty and in a box. And I'm sure you guys can relate. I know I can. I have definitely old props and costumes that I found in boxes. Like, ooh, this is covered in blood from years ago. I should probably just throw this away. And but then I'll just get another actor to wear it because I can afford to buy another one. But and then we see the sheriff, who has probably one of the best hairstyles in the film.
Yes. And mustache.
Yeah, just like a big gray afro. And I don't know if that's a wig or if they dyed his hair or what's going on with that. And Nightbeast, chases everyone around, and you see him vaporize people, and they have him they push him around on a dolly to just make it look like he's running, because apparently there's very poor visibility in the mask, and the actor who was in the Nightbeast costume was pretty claustrophobic. I have a clip where one of the actors, Jamie Zemmerl, talks about the actor being claustrophobic.
Chris Gummer, who was the monster in the monster suit a few times, was claustrophobic. And Chris would ask me to talk to him and, say, be there and touch him so that he knew where, because he said the mask had very tunnel vision eyes, and it was making him feel very, very suffocated, and he was getting ready to rip it off, and we had it taped into it. The suit, by the way, the space suit, that actually was my motorcycle rain suit that I donated for them to use as the monster's spacesuit and everything. I finally got it back years later from Don, who had stuffed it down in a box somewhere and everything. And when I got it back, it was all stuck together from the heat and everything. I kind of went, oh well, thanks anyway. So
I mean, when people get killed, I'm like, wow, look at the effects of how they're disintegrating.
That's so cool. Like I've shot some Super 8, but I've never shot. I don't know. What do you think? Was this 16 or 35?
I think it's 16.
Have you ever shot anything on 16?
I have, actually. Black and white reversal 16.
So
film school.
Did you ever do any opticals like this where they have like the animations?
I drew on the film in a editing software, so I drew on it. They converted it to a mini DV, so we shot it film, and then they took it to a post house, and they gave us little mini DVs, and then I edited from the mini DV tape.
Because I always wonder like how expensive it is to do like just these when these people get vaporized, they like turn into bright red and then sparkles and then disappear. And it's obviously the trick where it's like, all right, stand there, all right, we're going to keep the camera rolling, now you run out really fast. All right, and then they add the animation in. But for a pretty low budget film, I can't imagine that was cheap, especially for how many lasers and people just in the first like 5 minutes alone that just get blasted away.
Oh yeah. And
then they just have a crazy gunfight right at the beginning of the movie. And apparently all the sound effects is just Don Dohler close up to a microphone going, pow, pow! And then with like an echo effect.
It's amazing.
And then we get our first taste of gore in the movie when Nightbeast runs out and rips out the guy's guts. And it's the blood in it is like, what do you think of the blood in this movie?
It's fun. You know what I mean? I think all the gore is great. I love that severed head. That's like one of my favorite decapitations.
Yes. The severed head is, and even like the guts, like right in this scene, like they look pretty good. The blood it reminds me a little bit of like the Dawn of the Dead era where it's still just a little like hyper realistic, but
ragu.
Yeah,
they look very shiny.
Yeah.
We just see like basically everybody in the town is just like freaking out from Nightbeast, and we get like the cops are like, we need to evacuate the town, and so they go talk to the mayor, and they're like, I don't know if we have another idea for this movie, so let's just remake Jaws, but with Nightbeast, and they're like, but instead it's like the mayor's throwing like this pool party, but it's like his backyard. And I guess it was also like so in one shot you'll see the trees of Nightbeast running past in Don Dohler's backyard, and then the reversal of that shot is the back of his house in the swimming pool. So he got full use out of filming his backyard. They have like a big pool party scene.
Oh yeah, I know what that's like.
At least the pool was clean.
Yeah.
Nice and blue.
if his kids did the chores that day.
He's like, clean the house. I'll let you do the audio for the sex scene.
Yeah, if you keep your grades up, you can hold the boom mic during the sex scene.
What? Okay, all A's.
I've never seen a kid work that hard at school before. So they have like this pool party in the backyard, which is pretty comical because it's like, oh man, the governor's coming to like this tiny Baltimore town. Who's like, where is everybody? And there's like 10 people just hanging out like this dude's backyard, which I imagine in their minds when they wrote it, it was supposed to, be like the Playboy Mansion type pool party, right. But it just totally looks like it's in some townie's backyard. like it's just like a barbecue with friends, and not like probably not as glamorous. Not as glamorous as they were picturing. So it's pretty funny that they're like, we're not going to evacuate the town because we need to have this pool party. So and one of the cops, she is I guess Don Dohler's aunt's hairdresser. And so she doesn't really have any acting experience before this, but she definitely does a pretty good job in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And then for whatever reason, they have a subplot about this biker guy named Drago.
Oh, Drago. Love Drago.
he like it's like, all right, we know the bad guy. It's Nightbeast. And then I guess this biker Drago who rapes his girlfriend and beats her up, because I think they're like, we need another way to get nudity in this movie. So he like, I don't know, it's very 80s like intro of a bad guy. He'll rev up on the motorcycle. It's like, what are you douchebags doing? But he's like some chunky dude on a motorcycle. He kind of looks like an accountant by day, but with a leather jacket.
80s bad guys are the most heinous characters in cinema history.
Yeah. and so he sees like the cops pulling up after he like rapes his girlfriend. So he like hops on his motorcycle. He's like, I gotta get out of here. And he just goes up the hill, like an eye shot of the house. And the cops pull up and they're like, she's fine. She's packing a bag. And they leave and they cut back. And she's just like butt naked crying. It's like, and then he just revs up on his motorcycle and pulls back up. He was just like in 10 feet from the house. and then that's the last time you see her, because they wrote her out of the script after after that scene. They're like, she's dead. Drago strangled him to death. And they're like, God damn it.
But wasn't there like a relationship between her and the guy in the blue?
Yeah.
One of the deputies.
Yeah, the dirt bike cop, because they need another guy in a motorcycle. And apparently when I was watching some of the interviews, he wasn't really allowed to drive around on the dirt bike. So they had like the owner of the dirt bike and all the wide shots. And he was like, I totally could have done all that dirt bike stuff, but he didn't want me to wreck his bike.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so we also have two doctors, one of which is the George Stover, and they do autopsies I assume they live in the top of their house and they do autopsies in the basement.
Oh yeah.
For whatever reason. It's just, you know, every small town, I guess their autopsy thing is also their house. And they Nightbeast shows up at their house, and they have this scene in there which kind of reminded me of Thriller. They call her One Eye when they're going to try to stop. Yeah, that movie's rad. And it just reminded me of that, because it shows kind of the thought behind Don Dohler. Like, he's not just trying to shoot out a movie as quick as he can, because this is in slow-mo, which, you know, on film, like, you had to intentionally do that. And they're fraying electrical wires and throwing water on the floor to trick Nightbeast into walking in it, but it's all in slow-mo. So it's it's pretty cool to see that shot, and Nightbeast gets shocked, and they have, you know, strobe effects, and then Drago shows up again because the cops show up. And they're like, Nightbeast took off, and Drago and the dirt bike cop, they get in a fight, and the sheriff, he gets hurt, so he goes back to Lisa, the lady cop's house, to get his leg looked at in one of the most erotic scenes ever committed to film. Lots of shoulder kissing, which I
gotta get out of these dirty clothing.
Yeah, he has like a cut on his leg, and she's like, well, I think I'm gonna go take a shower. He's like, perhaps I better leave. She's like, perhaps you better stay. He's like, okay. And one of the things I like about this sex scene is it goes on just a little bit too long, which is always one of my favorite things in low budget movies, when you're like, all right, I get it. And it's not necessarily like a sexy scene, but it's like, well, we have all the footage, so we're gonna use it all. I actually have a clip of Don and George Stover talking about the nudity in the movie that I want to play.
Yeah, well, we had the one nude scene, which was the Oriental woman taking her clothes off briefly. And we were going to do this little scene where the sheriff and his deputy kind of get it on, a little quiet moment of repose in the middle of the movie when they're running from the monster. Let's stop and make some whoopee. You know, there's a monster running around and killing everybody in town, but let's stop and have some fun.
He grew up in an era where nude scenes were far and few between, and the same with gore. So he just wasn't used to it, and I guess he didn't like it. Maybe it wasn't just because he wasn't used to it. I guess he just didn't like it.
So, and it wasn't supposed to be a nude scene, but Tommy Griffith was an investor in the movie, and he came to me. He says, "I really think we ought to do this. There's another nude scene. I think we ought to get another one in there." And I'm like, "What?" Well, and the actress playing the part was my aunt's hairdresser, and she was a lousy actress. Sorry, Karen, but she wasn't an actress. She had no experience whatsoever. So I'm like, I can't ask my aunt's hairdresser to do a nude scene. That wasn't part. He said, well, I'll talk to her. I said, all right, fine. If you get her to agree to do it, I'll do it. Damn if he didn't. So it shocked the hell out of me. I thought, there's no way she's going to agree to do this. But she did. That was his idea. It's always somebody else's idea.
And I guess he just didn't want his movies to have that kind of stuff because, you know, West Side Story and Forbidden Planet didn't have nudity or excessive gore other than maybe a knife wound or something.
So then we cut back to the mayor and his girlfriend, who do you guys watch a lot of John Waters movies? Well, if she reminds me of like one of like John Waters like regulars, Mary Vivian Pierce, just a really ditzy blonde, but with the super thick Baltimore accent.
Right.
And she looks like they could be sisters, and they're just getting like drunk, but it's like 1920s like acting drunk. It's like, hello there, and swaggering all over the place. So they're getting drunk, and then Nightbeast shows up, of course, and he takes off the mayor's head, and it's sweet. Like his eyes are like bulging out, and he's just ripping his head off. Like it's a pretty solid effect.
Oh, it's a great head.
Yeah.
And then the girlfriend gets killed, and then the cops realize that Nightbeast was here because they found the head.
Right.
And the mayor had that Hugh Hefner look to him.
Yeah.
With the robe.
So they all come up with a plan. They're like, we know how we need to kill Nightbeast, and we need to electrocute him. And then somehow they get an electrical coil from a power plant. They don't show like how these cops acquire it, but it looks like they stole it off of something, and they pull it out of a trunk. And they set up a perimeter with an electric fence, and Drago shows up and tries to rape Lisa, the lady cop, and he just gets blasted in the chest with a shotgun, which is also, like, I'm sure you know, like, doing low budget squibs is not easy, especially to make them look good. That one was I thought was pretty impressive. And then they Nightbeast, like you're like, all right, well, Nightbeast is here, he's gonna get shocked, but he ends up killing George Stover. He just cracks his neck. And then there's like, for whatever reason, so like you're introduced to everybody who's in the movie at this point, except for in this scene, there's just some random guy who's like firing at Nightbeast. He's not in the rest of the movie. Like I watched it a couple times because I was like, wait a minute, where did this dude come from? And he's not one of the campers at the beginning. He's just in this last scene to fire at Nightbeast, and he doesn't even die. he's just there for whatever reason, and Nightbeast swipes at him, but then everybody pulls out their revolvers and then shoots him a million times, and they never reload. The fence starts to fall down, so the dirt bike cop holds it up and electrocutes him and Nightbeast, and that's the last we see of him.
So Nightbeast never gets hit with the bullets?
No, they were like, yeah, earlier in the movie, they're like, bullets don't seem to have any effect on him, which I don't quite understand, but I guess they don't.
I guess they don't.
I'm just assuming they're all just terrible shots. But yeah, so like what did you think, Bill, watching Nightbeast for the first time?
Oh, the effects are amazing. I mean, the gore with the guts coming out, the blood pouring out. I mean, the timing of how the monster would come out in the scenes, it was really, really good. It was scary.
It's like a pretty simple movie. It's not like there's a lot going on, but like plot wise, but it's like every scene there's something fun to watch in it. It's not like there's nothing that drags in there.
Yeah, I mean, I like the scene with the father and son. So where the son gets killed, but the dad shoots the gun away from his hand.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, why didn't you take the second shot and shoot him in the head?
That scene's pretty funny because they're like, first we need to get the gun away from him, and then we try to kill him. It's like, well, if you just try to kill him, then you got the gun. so it doesn't really. Yeah, but they shoot the gun away, and it's like, Nightbeast got away again.
Curses, Nightbeast. And then they just play the song, looking for some Nightbeast.
For some Nightbeast, baby. So you obviously you bought a Nightbeast shirt, so you love the movie. What made you want to pick this one? Because when I was asking you to come on the show, I was like, what's a movie you'd want to talk about? And this, like, there was not even a beat. You're like, Nightbeast.
Well, you said Troma, and that's probably one of my favorite Troma films that Lloyd Kaufman, acquired that he didn't actually work on.
I'd be interested to know what Lloyd actually thinks of this movie. Because in his book, he says that it sucks, but James Gunn also wrote his book. So it's like, well, maybe James Gunn thought it sucks. And then in the DVD intro for it, it's the generic Debbie Rochon, Lloyd Kaufman dubbed over DVD intro.
Welcome to
And then he's like eating the soup. It's like, and that's what makes this movie a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, he's in the Blood, Boobs, and Beast documentary. And so you see him there, and he's like, oh yeah, we're going to talk to Don Dohler, but I guess he's not going to be here today. And that was like Lloyd's whole scene in there. So I'd be curious to know what he thinks about it, or if he even realizes it has as big of a cult following as it does. Like Vinegar Syndrome just put out an awesome Blu-ray that like looks fantastic of this movie.
I love Nightbeast. I can't say enough good things about it. You know, it's just such a fun creature design. It's that lip.
Yeah, and all the fangs, like there's no shortage of teeth in Nightbeast.
Yep, more teeth.
It was one of those, like, I'm glad I finally get to talk about it. I was surprised when I was doing the first half of the show, when I was asking people what Troma movie they wanted to talk about, that no one jumped on Nightbeast right away. It's like, oh, but it's fucking Nightbeast.
Yeah,
but I think we should go into the double feature part of the show. So it's a double feature day at the Chinese Theater, maybe triple feature. They just showed Alien Danger and Nightbeast, and now they're going to show another double feature. What are you picking for your double feature? Extra.
Tony's father has been away a long time. Now he's coming home. Extra has returned. Once a man, he is now something more than human. Indestructible, ever-changing, evil. His mission, to avenge, to possess, to destroy.
Why did you come back?
I came back for you.
Oh my God.
Extra, bearing powers of black magic from deep space.
If you think hard about something, you can make it happen. Use it when you need it.
Some extraterrestrials aren't friendly. From New Line Cinema, rated R.
Yeah, that movie is ridiculous.
It's insane.
I watched it not too long ago for the first time, and just seeing the trailer, it's like it has kind of that low budget air of Nightbeast, and you have the space stuff, but that movie is ridiculous. 1982, so the same year as Nightbeast, directed by Harry Bromley Davenport, and shot
what a classy ass name, huh?
Harry, yeah, you would never guess that Harry Bromley Davenport is shooting Extra, which the one
extra, read all about it.
The one thing that surprised me about Extra, the first time I saw it, was I thought there was going to be, like, the monster on the box is pretty infamous. I feel like, but you know who's not on the box is the midget clam that's in most of the movie. That's crazy. And then there's so basically the idea with Extra is a guy gets abducted by aliens, and then he shows up later. And his kid is traumatized because he sees his dad getting abducted, but it's 3 years later, and he shows back up, and he's like, oh, I want to be part of my kid's life again. But how he shows back up is pretty nuts. it's like a Takashi Miike scene. He's birthed, this lady births a full-sized human being.
See, that freaked me out.
It's just so nuts. It's like, oh, they're just going for it.
Yeah.
And the effect is pretty good too. It's like, it reminded me of Gozu when the lady birthed like the bull man. If you haven't seen
that, movie's insane. I still think of that fake puppy dog that gets whacked so terrible.
And then the dad has like this connection with his son, that he's like, you have these powers where you can make things if you happen that you really think about. So it like kind of turns into like a weird kid's fantasy of circus clowns and like his
soldiers.
Like he has his action figure soldiers come to life to kill the downstairs neighbor because she's kind of a bitch. Like, stop making all those crazy circus noises upstairs.
Oh yeah, I love the way that movie progresses because it's just crazy, and then you're like, wait, what's happening now? It just keeps getting weirder and weirder.
It's so many ways to become an alien. You could get bit, you can be birthed. It's just bizarre.
Your father could just start sensually sucking on your shoulder blade. And it's like, what?
And they start playing Looking for Some Nightbeast. Like, ooh, shoulder action.
It's like, what is happening?
You can birth those little eggs in the bathtub.
And then have your midget clown take the eggs and put them in he knocks over your fridge like a dick and he throws the eggs and just, for safekeeping, and then wraps you up in a spider web because he's a midget clown. And that's what they do. But there's also aliens. It's I want to see this movie in the theater with a crowd.
I have. It's incredible.
Oh,
I have seen a 35 print of it in theaters. It's amazing to watch with an audience.
Because like this, it's just so nuts. I watched it with a group of friends, and just like our reactions, like the three of us, and it's like, oh my gosh, like to see this in a packed house would be so much fun.
Yeah. The only thing that would make it better is if Peter Bark from Burial Ground was the little person. Mama, aliens.
I talk about Burial Ground in the episode right before, and I always think that he looks like Rachel Dratch.
Yep, exactly. Mama.
Just get the dad sucking on the kid's shoulder and the kid sucking on mama's boob.
Mama, looking for some Nightbeast.
That's awesome. But yeah, no, if you haven't seen Extra out there, you need to, because it is awesome.
Also, Extra 2.
I haven't seen any. I know there's a 2 and a 3. I haven't seen the sequels.
So 2 is great. I haven't seen 3, but part of the reason why Hanukkah, the film I produced, Eben McGar's film Hanukkah, the first Jewish slasher film, Sid Haig's last film, Dick Miller's last film, we gave to Bob's Your Uncle as a distributor, was so we could do an Extra film because they have the rights. So that was part of the reason that we had gone with them originally.
And I'm excited to see Hanukkah like that. I've seen like posters and like kind of concept stuff early on from that movie. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun. I was the director of photography for half of the film. I got
Is it out yet, or?
Yeah, no, it's out. It's on DVD. Like I said, it's got a ton of cameos in it. Kane Hodder did the stunt choreography. PJ Souls is in it. Caroline Williams from Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 is in it. And, like I said, it was really cool to work with Dick Miller and Sid Haig.
That's awesome. Yeah, I never had the chance to meet either of them, so that's even cooler that you got to work on their last film, and it looks like a good one to have gone out on too, because it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's the Hanukkah's a lot of fun, so that's definitely one to check out.
Well, I think we should
same people that put out Extra, so there's the tie-in.
Yeah. It all comes together in the short incestuous filmmaking world that's out there.
It is small, that is for sure.
So I think we should start wrapping this up, but anything you guys want to plug, any of the 31 movies that they should start watching now or can pick up to buy now?
Yeah, Bill, go for it.
Hey, you definitely got to see me in It Wants Blood with
Yes.
Eric Roberts and Amy Dumas. Love that show. Two politicians going at it, and they both have monsters.
Nice.
What's not to like about that?
It's a lot of fun. And if you like Cue the Winged Serpent, definitely.
Yes. But definitely I'm very excited about Alien Danger. So that's me as the actual lead. And we're the smart people, the scientists, and we have alien scientists, and we're trying to save planets.
Nice.
Right now, of course, you got to get It Wants Blood. And if you're in the LA area, make sure you come to Alien Danger at the Chinese Theater, November 29th at 6 p.m. It's going to be a wild party. Like I said, it's got Tommy Chong in it and Rob Halford from Judas Priest, as well as a ton of people from Star Trek, like Bobby Clark, the Gorn himself.
Awesome.
That's going to be wild. And also look out for You're Melting, Lorene Landon's first nude scene ever.
Ooh. Awesome. And where can they follow you guys on the social medias to find out more about what you guys are doing?
You can always find me on Facebook and IMDb.
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram at James Balsamo. Find me on Twitter at Acid Bath Product, or go to my website, jamesbalsamo.com. Get yourself a cool t-shirt or hat or hot sauce or action figure or book. I wrote 2 books.
And or a VHS.
Or VHS. I've got that too. So come on down, jamesbalsamo.com. What are you waiting for? I've got stuff. If you like Extra, you'll like my stuff. It's weird.
I agree with that. And then you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Lego Larry. You can follow the show on Twitter at Talkin Troma. And as always, stay traumatized.